And so it begins. We resume the old campaign. We've gotten everything back except for a few things that used cryonic engines, which fortunately were only used on the second stage, so we lost no permanent craft to that. We did lose 3 satellites to Cathane scanners, but we've decided not to use Cathane any longer because it doesn't update very quickly. The guy maintaining it has a lot on his plate, so can't blame him for that. That'll be just a moment, and we'll start going into things, and we'll check out the Phoenix too, make sure she still works, make sure everything else is in proper order. And we're going to the Duna mission was one of the satellites that had a methane scanner on it. So rather than take another 300 days to replace that, we're going to just cheat a satellite into Duna orbit to shorten that. That way we can actually start getting on to probe missions. So we've also got some massive improvements on the visuals for you to enjoy. We've got the Eden Sun Flare as well as the stock visual enhancements to work together. So, I mean, it's just looking absolutely gorgeous. Look at that sun. Isn't that beautiful? Go take a look at the star field too. I want to see how it looks outside of the atmosphere. Already looking extremely promising. We have no serious performance issues either. Ah, yeah. That's what you want to see. So it might be a bit bright. A bit on the bright side, and that's without any ambient light increase. Now, as I said, we've lost our Dunacom set, so we are just going to get rid of these because they're no longer relevant. The Ares probe was fortunately not affected by that, so we don't have to worry about losing that satellite. That one or that mission. That mission's still in progress and still will be arriving at Eve in 350. Well, it'll be arriving at the first maneuver mode in 353 days, and then it'll take a little. Probably it's going to take about 2 years to get to Eve because we didn't fire from an ideal orbit. But the craft is excellent, and it will make it. Let me check what our ambient light settings is. Let's go back to the Space Center here. Because I don't know about you, but that thing is rather blinding. It does need sun. You literally almost need sunglasses with it. Nope, it looks glorious. All right, so first off, let's go check on Phoenix. We were working on the Phoenix 3 project last. I want to see if it's still in good condition. Pretty sure that it is. Just want to make sure my baby is all right. That's not good. What are we missing? Yeah, those cryogenic fuel tanks, I swear. The only thing keeping us from loading the 3. We'll just leave it in there. Once he gets cryogenic fuel tanks, I'll just add it back in. Oh no. Fortunately, Phoenix 2 is still in good condition, and Phoenix 2 is close enough to Phoenix 3 we can probably get away with putting it back on here and then just making some tweaks. So here we are. She's back in business. Just do a few updates to her to make her back to spec with the original Phoenix 3. As I said, we may get, cryogenics back, and if so, I'm going to go ahead and leave that open to that possibility. What I would give if they could just make a graphene nose cap. Like a little sleeve that goes right over the nose piece here. That may be our best bet in terms of actually getting a nose cone protector for this thing. Kind of weird looking, almost like a duckbill. Yeah, definitely. I was thinking exactly the same thing, Jade. And that's our penetrator nose cone. Trying to make this thing as resistant to heat on the front side as possible. The other thing we needed to do was, see, we got the sleeve covering and that was okay if I remember right. Alright, we don't have any liquid fuel on this. The other thing I wanted to do was, what do we have for landing gear? Are we up to large yet? Oh yeah, the problem with these was that They had no steering. And that's why we were using them instead of the large. Boy. Hey, Rubalode, welcome back. Unfortunately, I don't understand Russian. But good evening to you. We'll make this thing a little bit more aerodynamically stable as well while we're at it. Now, the thing we were trying to do with the Mark III was get it to be a space plane. The problem we found in that is that the nuclear engine, while it will burn multiple fuel types, such as hydrogen, well, quite a few things actually. Problem is that it doesn't have a very high efficiency in space. The other thing we were having a problem with was we discovered that it explodes rather easily. And I think that we solved that by putting it in a rather large container. We need a Mark II inline cargo bay. Well, Mark I size 2 cargo bay. Too small. So we need one of these, but a little bigger. Cannot be tweak scaled. That one can though. Will it fit it? Not quite. We'll have to use an extended version. You know, that's a lot of krypton it can carry. 6 tons worth. Whoa, 9 tons worth of xenon. Yep, this time we're going to have it very well protected. We're using a Mark II, Mark 1B body, which has a heat resistance of 2,500 K, which I think is about the same as the nuclear engine. Let me take a look and see. Welcome aboard, Teague, by the way. Just a little bit warm, just a little bit cooler. We might want to toss in another heat panel on it. That should keep it safe for the most part. Very little of it exposed. Might have been better where it was at. There we go. I think we need an ISRU generator in order to convert the compressed air back and forth, but I'm not sure entirely. We'll try without, see if it'll fill on its own. Look at that ISP multiplier, it's horrible. 0.26. Same as atmospheric. That's a slight problem. How can that be a 3.75 if this is a 2 point? That makes no sense. These sizes do not look right. Yeah, that distributes our weight now. Let's give it a whirl and see how it performs right now without any additional changes. Yeah, in theory, with the gas tank, we can go into space and actually burn compressed air in space. However, I think the duration of that, given the size of this engine, may be very low. Beautiful sun. The nose sleeve still on there, right? Yep. Okay. Here goes nothing. Good on atmosphere for right now. See, it ran out of fuel that fast on that small tank. It literally hadn't left a runway with it. You know, if I got a resource generator, I probably could fill it fast. No, but that's only an atmosphere. As soon as it leaves the atmosphere, it would just be running on the tank and it would be gone quickly. I want to speed test it just to make sure it's still going to fly correctly as a plane, the same way it used to. So far, it's got really stable flight dynamics, which is good. Well, without the tank, the nuclear engine has zero thrust. It literally would be running on monoprop and it wouldn't go very far. You talking about the nuclear engines here, Jade? You had a hand in them? You designed these babies? These mad machines? Two 2,511 kilonewtons. So far. a very short time, like 5 seconds. Well, I blame it on it being tweak scaled. If it's consuming at the same size, at the same scale as this engine is, the engine's 2 times as large as its normal size. So it probably has 2 times your typical consumption. We're going to do a heat resistance test. This is purely simulation right now. This is not an actual mission. We're testing out the flat properties of this craft, making sure that it can still survive at high temperatures. Although I think my mouse is dying on me. I'm going to drop the nose a little more here. We are starting to get heat gain on something. I guess that cargo bay again. If I remember right, I think we ended up having to encase that thing with graphene. There it goes. That thing just has too low of an internal temperature tolerance. Even inside a bay, it cooked inside the bay. The bay is still intact. So apparently the bay doesn't include too well or something. Oh goodness, it's getting out of control. Why it was getting out of control, I'm not sure. Oh, there go pieces of something. What broke this time? Let's see here. Radiator wing collided. What? That wing was attached. How did it collide? I bet it's that strange positioning of that wing. Oh, I see, Jay. We may have to do a little bit more protecting it then. I thought it was bigger. Take a look right quick and see. No, you're right. It's almost exactly the same size. I bet the colliders would say that it is. See if any other tanks could possibly work other than it. Something longer, maybe thinner. Too big. The heat resistance on it. Same problem. I think it's the positioning, because it's got this really weird gap here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. It needs to be mirrored though. Actually, I got a better way of doing this. The right auto strut heaviest part. Fuel tanks. We need something that has quite a bit of heat tolerance. That's a fuselage. That might work. That makes it too large. But I've got an idea based on that. Let's see. Let's try it with liquid. I think it's supposed to be really efficient with liquid. So we will have a small liquid payload. What's the temperature resistance? These are actually really high on the temperature resistances. They're almost the same as the engine. We don't need a cover for these. I think that the bay is about the same as it is. Yeah, the bay is the same material type. Just get rid of that altogether. That's a lot of liquid fuel. That is almost certainly going to change our weight distribution. For the better, apparently. Okay, so then the question becomes, we'll have enough lift to actually carry the full body. We may need another wing in the middle. Now we're just going to have this thing be a static wing. Okay. Supposed to be mirrored. Where's the mirror? Thank you. Now, unlike its younger brother, this thing is not going to be very good at being a rover. Purely a space plane. Yeah, I know it will. A little bit, anyway. Wonder how much thrust we'll get with liquid. That liquid's going to be a lot better for space. This is one wild plane. Quite possibly my oddest aircraft I've built. Whoa, what happened? Oh, the bunny wings. Or the bunny. The bunny legs got me. Gotta remember, I cannot bring those up on the ground. Bad things happen. Medium. I'll put the large landing gear on. Since we're not going to actually be landing this on terrain and it's meant for space, we can actually ditch the old gear and put in proper large gear. Also, I got a funny feeling we're going to need more chutes, so for the emergency landings. All right, let's get the large gear out. Maybe not the extra large. Maybe we'll do just the standard large. That looks right. Front gear may still bunny hop, but I have to have something to provide some control. I'll test it to see. If it doesn't bunny hop with just the front gear, then we might be able to have some control over direction on the ground. Okay, physics doesn't seem to think it should die. Oh boy. Okay, so yeah. Bunny. It reminds me of one of those tricked out jumper cars or whatever they're called. Or switch propellant. I really need to set a next propellant hotkey for this thing. Okay, yeah, we still do have steering for it, which is good. Doesn't have quite as much pep as it used to because of the sheer weight of the thing now. But it's still flying. You know, it occurred to me the only reason this was that big is because of the requirement to cover that fuel tank. I could probably bring this down in size and that down in size like it was originally. Might take down the range in space though. We're going to try this out the way it is, and then if it doesn't work out, I'll reduce the size of those center pieces. Seems good as a rat. Still gaining speed. I can hear the actual scramjet kicking in on the nuclear engine. That pulsing noise. I'll be honest, Jade, I'm very surprised this thing flies at all. Look at all that inefficient thrust, inefficient drag on the front nose cone here. Fortunately, it's, you know, perfectly balanced out due to the fact that it's four-way, but wow. Oh, the drag. What's the drag from? Those two wings. It's progressively worse the further back you get. I'm off this chute. I'm off that chute. Every time you add another parachute, you add drag, apparently. Now if I could just figure out how to get this thing to vanish. Ah, there we go. Oh, I thought that was it. I feel like it should be part of Kerbal Flight Engineer, but I don't know where it would be. Still gaining speed. Engine's starting to lose stress due to lack of oxygen. Still holding together remarkably well. It's getting stronger as it goes. I mean, relative to the atmospheric resistance it is. I want to get us down to a 5-degree ascent so we can pick up speed. Thing is controlling remarkably well right now. Wanting to lean to the left again for some strange reason. Nothing in particular appears to be dragging it to the left. Now, if this works, we're going to make a, we might make a cargo model, replace the space lab, or the science lab, with an actual cargo hangar to actually deliver satellite payloads. That space plane hangar is pretty much in there as a simulated high payload, or heavy duty payload. We're only starting to see heating on the front nose cone, and we're up to 1,500 meters per second. This is looking really good. We'll aim this right at the horizon. Now we'll start losing altitude, but we'll start gaining in thrust as we lose altitude because you'll be getting a more and more oxygen-rich atmosphere. What will happen then is, as it starts to approach orbital velocity, the orbit will actually come up instead of go down, despite the fact that its nose is pointed down. Traveling so fast that it wants to actually gain angular, like the nose wants to gain angle against the horizon right now. Now keep in mind I haven't even engaged the monopropellant thrusters or switched over to nuclear fuel to assist you. Wow, we're just pouring into the darkness right now. Must be dusk. Yep. Now we are gaining oxygen, which means we are gaining thrust. As we gain the additional thrust with the additional oxygen, we're going to start gaining more speed. Go, Phoenix, go. So far we are still well within temperature tolerances. Nothing has gone bright red, still just light orange, and the radiators are doing their job. Airspeed is still climbing, orbital velocity is still increasing. We are rapidly approaching orbital velocity, in fact. Like literal orbital velocity, not just the actual speed. We're actually going to leave the atmosphere. Sheerly by force of weight being thrown out of the atmosphere. Periapsis is only at negative 200. Things are starting to get a little warm, but nothing is too serious yet. We're starting to get some serious heat on something. Whatever's right there, I bet it's parachutes. Starting to be able to see the stars finally. Gorgeous deep star field. Love the appearance of that skybox. Parachutes are starting to try to warm up on us. Every time we nose down, though, it ducks them out of the heat stream and it cools them off. Periapsis is starting to come up above the surface. We're down to 40,000 meters. Oh, and everything's deciding to start to warm up suddenly. Oh, there went something. I have to check what that is once we leave atmosphere. Periapsis is now above the surface at 3,000 meters. I'm suspecting we just lost parachutes. If that's the case, that's no serious loss. ticking over to monopropellant assistance. I think it might have been a mistake. I don't think we actually need it. Switching over to liquid fuel. How can the periapsis still be so low and this orbital velocity is this high? Surely that's not correct. Oh! Oh! We long exited the atmosphere. I just didn't realize the periapsis was behind us. Yeah, I hadn't been paying attention to the apoapsis. I've been so focused on that periapsis, I didn't realize it was completely out of atmosphere. We need to burn a little, though, to maintain it. And there we go. We've got a maintenance speed. Lock it on to prograde. Just let it go the rest of the way on its own. We'll just bring down the speed as atmospheric resistance drops. Now I'm going to target 70,000 meters. Actually, we'll do 100 just to make sure we're nice and clear of the surface. No, I don't think it'll actually drop below 100,000 meters, even at the current rate of friction. Now I want to start, let's see, I want to F5 this because I want to test this thing while it's under acceleration and see how it performs. There's times 3. There's times 4. Fine. Okay. Excellent. Please move your seats into the upright and locked position as we leave the atmosphere. Oh, the solar panels. That's what blew up. That's even less of a concern. Look at all that heat. Radiators are screaming, oh my God, we're hot. What do you think, Jabe? I think we have a winner as a payload delivery system. Once we swap out that science lab. Kind of curious as to how far this thing will go. Stop blinding me, Eden. Gorgeous. Okay, let's see. Where's the moon at? I'm nuts. Just a simulation, but I want to see if this thing will go to the moon and land. Yeah, I believe so as well. I'm kind of curious about how far this thing can deliver. But I'm going to do one thing. We're going to shut off the monopropellant engines until we actually need them. The good thing is a nuclear plane. I don't even know why I have panels on there, Jay. It's got a nuclear reactor and a thermolytic converter. It doesn't need them. Oh crap, the moon's eclipsed. Well, that's going to make landing interesting. Now it's back into sunlight. You know, the best way to land a plane on the moon is landing it backwards with its gear facing the ground. Of course, my gear aren't yet, but that's besides the point. Found us a nice flat spot below us for us to land, so that's where we're going to go. Just in case we need the extra thrust at some point. Altitude above ground is only 20,000 meters, so we're still good for acceleration for a bit. We need to fall. Just fall nice, straight and down. Hey, look, there's my shadow. Hi, my shadow. You need to be closer to me. We need to be friends. Now, in the case of a space plane landing on the moon, a little forward momentum is not necessarily a bad thing. Because we're going to flip this thing forward once we get to the appropriate altitude. Hey, Ned2507, welcome to the stream. Is the stream black for anyone else, or is it only black for Ned? Sorry, Ned. Unfortunately, I have no idea why your screen is black. Oh! Ah, well, it was worth a try. We got booms instead. What did I hit on? Let's see. I landed on an Elevon. We were on a hill, that was our problem, and it was causing us to go slowly down the slope and increase speed as we did. That's why I couldn't get it to come down nice and straight. Oh well. It's still impressive that thing managed to make it to the moon. Did it? Oh, yeah, you're right. It did. I wonder what the stress tolerances are on that. I should have F5 before we tried that. So what have we verified? This thing is definitely valid as a space plane. It's a space plane that can go all the way to the freaking moon. We've also verified that solar power is effectively useless. So the question is, where in the heck did I put the solar panels? I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm not seeing any solar panels. Oh, they're there. that's a really stubby landing leg. Some tells me that wouldn't be aerodynamically sound. What do you think, Jake? Probably really low. Seven meters per second. Yeah, really, really low. I'd have had to land that thing at practically a stall like I was trying to do. Kept having trouble due to the fact it wanted to drift down the hill. So what we need, if I'm going to land on the moon with this thing, is something that will cause that engine to tip when it touches. Almost like a guard of some sort. What do you think, Jade? Do you think that would do it? The landing gear would hit the ground, notch it forward onto the legs. I don't like how that retracts into that wing, though. Not sure if there's a way to avoid that. Oh, I didn't know that I could actually clip them onto the engine itself. Problem is, if I put it that way, it may flip to the side, so what I probably want to do is just put one on top. Something like that. My build's about style. Do you know me, Jade? I purely go for utility. Oh, by the way, I added Final Frontier to this. Hey, Persimmon. Welcome aboard. Now, since this is a simulation and purely a test of this thing's ability to land on the moon, I am going to, and since I've proven that it can get to the moon, I'm going to cheat it into the orbit of the moon so that we can test its landing capabilities with this modification. Take care, Jade. Alright, so what we're doing is we're testing the landing capabilities of this space plane as a plane on the moon. Last time we attempted this, the impact velocity, well, the ability of the space plane to withstand anything more than, the engine itself, if you land on it, couldn't withstand more than 7 meters per second impact, which was a bit of a problem if this thing did not want to slow down its forward momentum. So what we ended up having to do was we put a landing gear on the tail with a 12 meters per second tolerance, so that when when the landing gear hits first, it's going to make the space plane want to tip forward onto its landing gear. Now all we have to do is find a nice flat spot to land. Thank you, person man. It's just how I talk. I don't try to, you know, speak with any higher vocabulary than anyone else, just happen to be how I talk. Sometimes I do stumble over my words, though. Okay, we're about 12,000 meters above the surface. We got a nice landing spot right through there. It looks flat. So we're going to gun to reverse on the engines here. And try to kill our momentum. We're currently moving well over 300 meters per second, which is extremely dangerous to land at. So we're not going to kill our vertical velocity too quickly. We're going to need to kill, well, we're going to need to kill the horizontal faster and then slowly kill the vertical as well. Most of our velocity is horizontal around the planet because of the fact that we came in at such a low ascent angle. I'm going to kick in the monopropellant engines as well to give us an assist here. Alright, now we have a nice fall. Well over 1,000 hours. I think I got my Steam profile linked in the channel there if you want to check me out. I've got at least 1,000 hours in on this game. I think 1,000's between 400 and 600. Haven't checked in a while. Slightly over rotated. Crystal to bring us back though. And we just need to fall a little bit. Now we're going to put our gear out. You'll notice the tailpiece here, which is designed to make sure the tail doesn't hit too hard. and to push the craft forward on its nose if it does make contact with the ground. Basically a tailhook for a space plane. I can barely see it because of all the numbers in the way. That's right there. Getting very close to the ground. You can see our shadow starting to approach. Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I know. I expect that on Twitch. You may know that we're drifting forward just a little bit. That is perfectly fine. Our major concern is just making sure we don't impact at a total relative velocity to the surface. If you sum these two together, you don't want it to be over 12. We want this circle as close to this green line as we can get it. Because that'll be in line with the direction of the landing gear when the tail touches. We are in an ideal descent profile right now. I mean, this is perfect. Exactly what you want to see. We're building a little bit of forward speed, so we want to kind of tilt back a little to correct that. Don't want too much of it. Won't hurt bad. Just want to make sure you don't have a lot of it. Because remember, the tent here is not to actually land on the landing gear, but to touch down on the back support piece for the engine and allow that to tip us forward. Now, if this test works, it'll gently rock us onto our nose. Just like that. And there we have it, folks. The lunar space plane has landed. Wow. So if somebody tells you a plane can't land on the moon, tell them that you've seen it done. This is a prototype. We've been testing it, landing testing it, cargo capacity and range testing it. The first flight, this thing flew all the way from the Kerbin here and had enough fuel to land. It probably also had enough fuel to get back, but we weren't able to test that because I crashed it. The reason I crashed it, we didn't have this piece right here. This is a landing, what I call a landing hook or a landing lever. Basically, the craft, when it's going down from a vertical landing, will touch on this first. And that pivots it forward, as you saw just a few moments ago, and allows it to land on its landing gear. Once it's on its landing gear, it can serve as a roving base, as you're seeing right now. And if you find an upward slope somewhere, you could probably throttle this thing up and take off from the surface of the moon easy. These landing gear are rated for 50 meters per second of movement. So just to experiment and prove that, I'm going to find a way to ramp myself into the orbit again. Right now this thing has a mobile lab on it that I don't actually need. I'm going to keep this particular model as a finished product as a mobile lab design, but I'm going to take the lab out and I'm going to put in a cargo bay that's about the same length as the lab, because the lab's heavy and I'll be using it to launch payloads into orbit. Now all we need is a heel to go up to get our angle right, and then we're going to launch this thing back into orbit. And I think that's the one we're going to use right there in the distance. Made a couple. This is early in the interstellar tech tree. We haven't even got the best stuff unlocked yet. I want to build a pretty massive space station eventually. Some of my old station models are on YouTube, and I plan on bringing some of those back and upgrading them and using them as stations on this campaign. Alright, so let's see now. We got a hill here. Oh yeah, I've got an entire interstellar highway system planned. And behold, a space plane you can actually fly like a plane on the surface of the moon. And nothing's going to go wrong. Not with this. Thank you for the follow. So let's see, where does that take us? That gets us back to Kerbin? Where's our periapsis at on Kerbin? Alright, we're going to go back to Kerbin now, see if this thing will actually re-enter safely and land okay. Alright, and back around we go. Alright, we're going to want this thing to be facing the direction of its entry, because it's got a special graphene nose cone that will shield it from heat on re-entry. Let me show you the nose of this thing, because it's a very special design. Got two graphene radiators, four of them actually, that come to a point on the nose. The purpose of that is to make sure that any heat is vented around the front of the nose of the craft, because this thing can do over 2,300 meters per second inside of atmosphere, which allows it to get into orbit purely on its nuclear engine. And we have contact with atmosphere. The nose is coming down. Since I got quite a bit of fuel and monopropellant left, I'm going to flip over, counter the burn. And attempt to get our apoapsis down from such a high level. Deceleration burn has been successful. We are not going to leave atmosphere. However, we're also out of monopropellant, so getting this thing back onto its proper course is going to be very challenging. Completely out of RCS, all we got left is our nuclear engine and the momentum of our SAS. And it looks like that was just enough to do the job. I made these prototypes all on my own. People sat and watched me build them. You can actually watch them back on like Dragons in Space episode like 30 or so when I first started working on these. Then they had 1.2, 1.3 came out, and that kind of botched their builds for a while because this uses near future technologies, and it didn't become available for some time while they were working on adjusting for the mod. Now we're going to change this over to using the atmosphere as propellant. As soon as we get atmosphere that's sufficient, it'll kick in and we'll know that we're back in deep enough to actually use the crafts. So let's find out, where is the Space Center at? I need to know that. Oh, it's behind us. Okay. Guess we'll have to turn around and fly back to it to test the landing. Which won't be a problem. As fast as this thing flies in atmosphere, it'll be back to it in no time. Yeah, these are completely self-made. This is a nuclear engine. These are two monopropellant assist thrusters, boosters, and this is the fuel tank right here for liquid fuel for when the nuclear engine's in space. This is the thermoelectric generator, which converts heat from the nuclear engine into power. These are all graphene wing surfaces, which allow us to exhaust heat. Where are the flags? It's getting a little warm. Not too serious though. Thing is re-entering beautifully. I couldn't ask for better performance. I'm at ×4 and it's still not flipping or turning or anything like that. Okay, we have nuclear thermal ramjet kick in. Now we need to turn this baby. Whoa. Whoa, 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 what are you doing? Get yourself back in gear, machine. You are not designed to fly this way. Alright, good job. It recovered. Alright, now that we have control back, the one thing you can't do at high speed in an atmosphere without blowing yourself all the bits is turn. If I ever build a plane that can turn at these speeds, I will be very stoked, but that's probably not going to happen. Most I'm going to be able to do is a gradual incremental turn like this one. Still, for doing 1,500 meters per second, it's still turning pretty good. Uh-oh. A little bit out of control here. Come on, fella. Okay, it righted itself. Now we can throttle up. Alright, so I need to head back to the Space Center, which I think is roughly going to be at that angle right there. But before I go to full speed on it, I'm actually going to see if I can find a marker for it. There it is. Base center monolith. So that's where our landing. That's where our landing strip is at. So that's where we want to go. And that is almost perfectly due east of us. Now, if you're wondering how this thing isn't using fuel, it's a nuclear thermal ramjet. It takes air into the compressor on the bottom here, pushes it through the engine and out the back, and the only thing it does is superheats the air. That's how it gets its propulsion. It runs purely on intake air. Alright, now I just got to level it out here. We're going to go back and take this thing and land. Now to get back to Kerbal, the Space Center at any decent speed, we're going to have to go about 2,000 something meters per second, so that's going to be our goal. Let's see, where are we at? We're all the way over, halfway literally around the planet. And we'll be back home in time for supper. Now the plane does get a little warm, but we have a lot of radiators. Unless something gets into the deep red, I'm not too concerned. I gotta keep an eye on our apoapsis and our periapsis, make sure we're not starting to go too high and leave atmosphere or anything like that. Because this thing can easily hit the speed needed to go back into orbit. Wish they had something to lock horizon. What do we just lose? Probably not anything too important, but... Oh, the landing strut. Ah! Don't need that anymore. I was just saying, we better drop speed just a little. We'll still be there in a very quick amount of time. We're literally ripping around the planet at like 1,800 meters per second. We're at a slightly higher altitude now, and the heat tolerances are greater. So I'm going to go ahead and reaccelerate things. Try to get us there faster. And now it's just a matter of time. We will go times 4. You start seeing our secondary landing strip showing up soon. They have cut throttle for reduced speed. They're rapidly climbing up on the landing zone. Which is cloud covered. We are right on target for approach. Ooh, who is that? Dr. Doof with the host. Thank you, man. Welcome aboard. Give me time just to watch me test out to see whether or not I'm going to be able to successfully land this bird. Uh-oh. That just went boom. Whoa! Too far, too fast. Blow the emergency parachutes. Hello, Hussar. We're in simulation mode. We're modeling this plane just flew all the way to the moon and came back. But flew a little too fast trying to get it back to the runway, and it went boom. We were about to do a landing test to see how well it would land. I may have to just do the landing test from... yeah. That dude made it, though. Still alive so far. This is exactly why I equip all my craft with emergency landing equipment. Keep the crew relieved. Yeah, if this were actual mission mode, I would have been being a lot more careful on that approach. Basically, we re-entered. We went halfway around the planet, so I turned it around, flew it almost all the way back before it overheated and went boom. I was being impatient, though. I was trying to get it back faster than I needed to. Since we're only testing, I don't really care if the thing explodes that much. Booms for a good start are always fun. It is a compilation of 3 different mod pieces. There's Near Future Technologies in here, there's B9 Aerospace, and there's also Interstellar is most of it, actually. Interstellar provides these nice black graphene wings that you're seeing here, as well as the nuclear engine. B9 provides the cockpit up here. This thing can fly as fast as it does because it's got a special nose cone. I actually customized the nose cone myself. There's the top piece, bottom piece, and the two side pieces. And what that does is it's designed to filter, it's designed to occlude the very tip end. Oh, thank you all for the follows. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. So this nose cone piece is supposed to occlude the main cockpit here. It forces the air up and over and around. That way you don't have to worry about, too much heat. It's made out of graphene. It has a heat tolerance of 3,700 Kelvin. If it were the only thing this plane were made out of, I wouldn't have to worry about it ever overheating. But unfortunately, you can't make the entire craft out of graphene. It'd be kind of expensive. So the nuclear engine doesn't require fuel to be active. It just requires atmosphere. The heat accelerates the air coming in through the intake nozzle back through the engine and then out the rear. So it runs purely on atmosphere as long as it's inside of a planet with an atmosphere to take in. You can, however, switch it over to liquid. Yes, this thing will go all the way to the moon. I'll tell you what, I'll do this landing test right quick to make sure that it'll land, and I'll actually fly it to the moon for you. Now we're going to be landing heavy, so this is going to be interesting. And by landing heavy, I mean we're going to be landing with all the fuel weight. Usually, if this thing's going to be landing, it's either going to be on the moon, where it's very, very light, or it's going to be on a return trip where it's practically empty if it isn't completely empty. Tell you what, let's try it over at the secondary runway. That way it's nice. We don't have to turn the thing all the way around. It flies a lot like a dart at high speeds. Makes it very difficult to turn because it just wants to go straight no matter what you do. Also, not having a joystick makes it kind of tricky too. I'm flying this purely on mouse, keyboard, and SAS. Now we want to calm back the thrust here to a nice landing speed. That's the flag we have on the secondary runway to mark it. But yeah, it actually has, if you look on the back, there's a landing gear stroke here. That landing gear is designed so that when it comes down vertically on the moon, this will hit first, and all these gears will be out. So that'll hit first. It tips the plane forward, and then the plane lands on its landing gear on the moon. And despite being so heavy, she flies like a gem. I mean, she very, very light on the controls. I'll have to get her speed up though. She's going to stall out if I don't. That's the other thing about the nuclear engine, unfortunately. It takes a lot to throttle up and throttle down. I may have to use the monopropellant to assist her landing at these weights. It flies really well. I forgot. I put the flag on the far side of the runway, so I'm not coming in straight at all like I hoped. I had to relocate it because for some reason, if you put a flag inside one of the hangars, I found out it can glitch and actually end up like above the hangar or in the hangar, and if you try to actually target it, it causes some real problems. I'm drifting a lot to the right now. That was kind of rough, but it made it. Okay, landing test check. Now that we know she can land, I'm going to take her back off and we will go to the moon with it. Assuming I can get enough thrust to do that. I don't know if I can. Oh, this is going to be rough. Booms? Yeah, total booms. Alright, let's just revert to the launch and then I'll take it straight up. I forgot I had my brakes on. Spectacular explosions! You'll get a lot of those in my stream. No, it's only a pity the reactor doesn't go like the nuke that it is. Now, first thing we want to do is make sure this thing is only consuming atmosphere, which you can actually tell what it's consuming by looking here at propellant. The propellant line right now says atmosphere. If it were consuming liquid, it'd say liquid. Is anybody having any trouble viewing the stream? We had a gentleman in here earlier said it just came through as black. I'm thinking he just didn't have the bandwidth to handle the high definition I'm broadcasting in. I'm assuming you guys are having no problem based upon the fact that you're telling me everything you're seeing. Excellent, okay. Now, I will tell you, getting into the moon is a bit of a long trip. You have to get up to high altitude, and it has to accelerate for quite some time. What happens is, though, this one engine will actually cause it to leave atmosphere on its own. It doesn't need any assistance. It can make it into space purely on atmospheric power and on nukes. So we're going to do the 20-degree up angle on ascent. Or actually more like 15. And we'll time accelerate here, get things moving. She is stable at ×4. So it means she has to be aerodynamically pretty stable. It's named the Phoenix 3. It's the third iteration. This one is designed to be a space plane. The prior version was a hybrid between a high-speed plane and a rover that was able to land anywhere on Kerbin. The hard part isn't going up, it's coming down for this plane. No boom yet. Just a lot of fire. A lot of fire. This thing can do 2,300 meters per second in atmosphere. It's not going to go boom anytime soon. Now watch the apoapsis and the periapsis. Those are the numbers that are going to really change quickly. Yeah, I love KSP's opening music too. Now you'll notice that it's starting to descend a little bit. That is completely normal and what we want to see. What it's doing is it's speeding up as both gravity and atmosphere increase. The ramjet really starts to kick off at about 22,000 meters. Right now it's already putting out over 400 meters of thrust at 23,000 meters, which is kind of crazy. So 400 kilonewtons of thrust. I don't know about him, but I have an endless appetite for big booms. Matter of fact, after I prove this thing can land on the moon, what I'll do next is I'll probably just do a straight nosedive into Kerbin for the fun of it. I mean, it is a simulation after all. It's not permanent to campaign. This is all testing that we're doing tonight. Making sure this thing is fit as a satellite delivery system, which it so far has proven well beyond its capabilities. Watch the thrust number. The thrust number just keeps climbing. That's because the faster it goes, the more air it takes in. The more air it takes in, the faster it goes. So you got an infinite feeding loop, basically, feeding back on itself. Here's the fun part. Interstellar allows upgrades to these engines too and their efficiency, so this thing isn't actually near its maximum capabilities. This is still only like, I think it's like 20% weaker than it potentially could be. Mind you, I don't know how it's going to survive the heat of leaving the atmosphere under such velocity, but it can definitely be upgraded still. Now what you're going to notice, I want to keep the nose pointed kind of at the horizon, because what's going to happen is it's just going to get faster and faster. Look at that deep field. I love that starry background. My favorite skybox by far. What's up, man? How you doing? Lol. Look at this. 1,700 meters per second, and it's just starting to get warm. I think it's called Krugman's Deep Starfield. It is available on CCAN. You have to use Texture Replacer to put it in place. Still accelerating. As I said, it takes a while for this thing to get into orbit. The catch here is you're not spending any fuel. Not only are you not spending any fuel, this craft can return and land. It is the ultimate satellite launch platform. Zero cost in use. You can take it straight back home. The only thing it uses is a little bit of uranium, and it uses such a small amount that the game doesn't even really charge you for it. Because uranium lasts for like hundreds of thousands of years or something craziness like that. This plane could literally stay in the air in game terms and game time at the rate that it burns the enriched uranium. It could stay in the air for over 100 years. Assuming you want to play it for that long in a campaign. Now we're actually getting up to some interesting speeds. The 1,800 meter per second range is when things start really warming up on this plane. Although it's trying to make me a liar right now. This is version 1.3. Most of the good stuff has been updated and is now current with 1.3. Here's the funny part. Earlier I had all my attention focused on the apoapsis, and I didn't notice that, or the periapsis, and I didn't notice the apoapsis actually leave atmosphere because it gets in front of you. Yeah, I'm expecting the apoapsis to come out, or the periapsis to come out the other side of the planet, but it ends up the apoapsis goes up faster with this craft. Although you don't see it quite here yet, it will happen. (1,900 meters per second), and this thing is still just barely warm. Please note that I'm carrying over 7,000 units of monopropellant, 6,000 units of fuel. I'll upload this craft to KerbalX after this stream, by the way, if anybody wants to download it. It'll be up by the name of the Phoenix 3 space plane under my username, which is also Maelstrom Vortex on the exchange. If you like what you're seeing, if you have the mods to use it. Oh, I'll easily hit 2,200. This thing can do 2,400 in atmosphere, as long as you're above 23,000 meters. Okay, the apoapsis is actually starting to go up some on us. We're almost to escape velocity. In terms of escaping and into orbit, not completely out of the Kerbin system. It's got to be careful not to choke the engine. Choke the engine will lose our momentum, the ability to leave atmosphere. So we got to keep the altitude, the vertical speed, we got to try to keep it down. And keep it down to maybe about 2 or 3 meters per second at this point. There, we're slightly negative right now, that's good. This is where things start to get interesting because things start getting hot. (2,100 meters per second). We want to climb a little more so that we can get a little bit less atmospheric resistance. We still have intake atmosphere 1.64. As long as we have 1, we're good. So I can afford to climb a little bit to get away from the heat. And that is exactly what we're going to do. I may kick in the secondary engines soon, the monopropellant, to kick it out into the atmosphere, out of the atmosphere. Now it looks like it's going to do it on its own. Apoapsis is now rapidly rising. 3,500 meters, or 35,000 meters and climbing on the apoapsis. Once we hit about 75,000 to 80,000 meters, I'm going to lock it prograde. (75,000 meters on the apoapsis, that is. And this is a really hot one. (32,000 meters. This thing is still breathing atmosphere because of how fast it's traveling. Now it's going to need help kicking out of the atmosphere, so I'm going to go ahead and kick in the monopropellant thrusters. This should push us the rest of the way. Monopropellant boosters are now active. 50,000 meters, apoapsis. (60,000). We are free of atmosphere. We're going to be free of atmosphere, so I want to decelerate to just maintain the apoapsis height. And we will lock prograde. Just a sheet of fire. Fireball. Now we're barely burning any fuel at all to maintain the orbit. Atmospheric resistance is dropping, so we're starting to gain altitude on the orbit again, even though we're barely burning anything. We want to raise orbit to 100 meters, 100,000 meters. It's at 44,000 meters and the nuclear engine is still breathing atmosphere because of the sheer velocity that it's traveling at. It has 0.005 atmosphere remaining at this speed. Okay, we are at 100,000 meters on the apoapsis, so let's go ahead and accelerate time and get up there. Now the radiator is still bleeding off heat from that exit. Here comes a gorgeous sunrise. Blinding old Eden sun flare. Gorgeous view of Kerbin. All the graphene radiators are like, oh my god, we're hot. And this thing is bleeding red. Firebird. And it still has all of its fuel and most of its monopropellant for the rest of the trip. Now, due to the fact that I want to preserve the monopropellant for the moon landing, I want to shut down the orbital boosters. Conserve until we get to the moon. We are almost to apoapsis. And converting. Are we still breathing atmosphere? How? No, we're not breathing atmosphere. Zero thrust. Just spinning up. Alright, we need propellant. And there we go. Now we're running on liquid. Alright, we now have a solid orbit established. Where's the moon? There's the moon. And are we on the right side of the planet to go to the moon already? We are on the right side of the planet to go to the moon already. We just need to go around to about here to burn. Go a little further. Alright, that should be about right. Alright, I'm going to do a full burn now and just get up to the moon. Alright, let's see where this orbit's going to take us. A little bit too shallow. Bring it back out to 10,000 cool. Yeah, 15 will be good. There we go. That'll give us a good altitude to decelerate from. Alright, so let's set the alarm clock, add a sphere of influence change notice, and onto the moon we go. And there's good old moon now. Coming out of an eclipse. And we will kill that alarm clock because we no longer need it. We're there. And now we will spin so that we're facing the periapsis while we're starting to close on the surface. And then we want to pick a nice flat spot to land. Now we want the wheels facing up, and you'll see why when I start to land. The forward momentum of the craft is going to be going in that direction towards the east. So when we land, we're going to have the cockpit facing west and the bottom facing east, so that the special guide tool on the tail here will force it to tip over in the right direction. The guide tool, let's roll for a moment so you can see it in the light. That's the guide tool. That'll hit the ground before anything else does. And if we hit it with forward momentum going towards the east, it's going to tilt the craft forward this way, forcing it to land on all four of these landing gear. Now hopefully we'll find a nice smooth spot to land so that it'll land graciously on all five of these points. This can be a little tricky. Landing on landing gear on the moon is never easy. Not when you're landing on a flat belly instead of a vertical craft. Right and through there should be a good spot to land. So we're going to kill our forward momentum. We don't want to get into that crater. That'll be a big problem. There's a nice area right through here. If we can get slow ourselves down enough, that would be a good point to land right through there. between those craters. Details filling in. Maybe it's not as flat as I thought. That spot should still be good though, right through there. Now we're burning all liquid right now in order to stop our momentum. Now what we want is we want that circle there, the prograde, we want it to stay on the eastern axis. And there's our shadow already appearing at 12,000 meters up. Now when we get close to the surface, we want these two combined numbers, the vertical and the horizontal speed, we want those to sum to less than 12. As long as we have that, we'll land safely. Now that we're close to the surface of the moon, I'm going to go ahead and turn on our additional thrusters here. I should have really put them on a hotkey, but I didn't think to. Alright, we pretty much halted most of our forward momentum. Now we just got to fall, or start falling. Now a little bit of sideways motion above or below the eastern marker is okay. It's not going to kill us. What will kill us though is landing on a slope that's too sharp or landing on like a point, because this craft is long. Oh my god, that sounds horribly unlucky, dude. Now we just need to fall. We only need to be worried about our altitude and our speed. When we get to around 500 meters, we want to make sure that we're getting close enough to actually start having concerns. So let's go ahead and bring the speed up. This craft is so long that it's really hard to get an idea of a good gauge of what the distance is between it and the surface. There's our shadow. That's a good marker right there. This is looking really good. This is exactly what we want. Heck, we even landed on the side of the hill. And bingo. There you are. Space plane landing on the moon. Even on the side of a slope. Doesn't matter where you perfect the technique. It could be on this, apparently a sheer cliff. Just a little bit. Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing, Hasarpal. Just a little bit more RCS will probably help this thing maneuver a lot. The good news is, where we landed makes for a great exit ramp. So, say for example, we want to drive this thing back to Kerbin, we just shoot straight off that way. It is wanting to slide backwards down the hill though, which is kind of funny. See if we can make it back on the fuel we got. And here we go, space plane taking off horizontally from the moon. Just ramp it. See, where's our orbit at right now? Oh, perfect. It's going directly back against the... yeah, that's exactly what we want. And we are out of liquid fuel, but that may not matter. Anybody know what lunar escape velocity is? Now, if it were in the 600s, I'd be gone by now. Well, orbital velocity maybe. I'm looking for escape. There we go. Where did that put us at Kerbin? No, no problem. I'm thinking we're going to wait till proapsis or apoapsis on this orbit and then burn. antigrade to make sure that we actually hit urban. We may not have enough to get back home. May got here, may not make it back. Not making it back without a refueling mission. But yeah, see, it will definitely make it to the moon. And I'm guessing if I had landed it a little bit more wisely, it probably would have made it back too. But I made a few mistakes on the approach. But anyway, I will upload this one to the Kerbal X. So if you guys have this collection of mods, you'd be more than welcome to download and use it yourself. Oh, thanks for showing up, guys. Thanks for coming to watch. I enjoyed having the company. So have a good evening. I'm thinking I'm actually probably going to wrap up the stream myself. It's 5 a.m. Eastern time. And I've done what I wanted to tonight, which was to perfect this particular design. So tomorrow I'm probably going to create a cargo variant of it. That way we can start delivering satellites with it. So the cargo bay is going to go, well, these are already for science and stuff, but the actual cargo bay for as a satellite delivery system will go where the science lab is right here. And I may eliminate some of these. Now, the fun thing you guys may not know, a Kerbal can actually get on and off of this thing through this cargo hatch. They get out of the cockpit up here from the roof, and then they walk back over the cargo hatches and then get to this ladder, walk down the ladder to the ground. And that's how they board and how they exit the craft. Matter of fact, let me demo that right quick before you guys go. It won't take more than 5 seconds. It's also got a data container, and it's got every single science mission available, and it's got a lab, meaning that if you took this thing and if you actually did use it to go to the moon, you could pretty much roam all over the surface of the moon and collect all the samples that you need. And with the aircraft landing gear, as long as you don't do something crazy with it, too crazy, it can hit up to 20 or 30 meters per second as long as you don't hit a bump. Although, as a moon rover, you probably, as Hussar pointed out earlier, want to add a few more RTS thrusters to keep it on the ground. Okay, so apply the brake. Let's EVA that dude. Alright, so the parts to craft here. This is the Science Center with the Science Lab. Science Junior is on there protected from the heat. That's mostly what these are for, is protect things from heat. There's the data container. There's the probe core that can be used for whenever there's not a Kerbal on board to make sure that it remains functional. And then there's all the different science missions that you can perform, as well as the navigation control system. And then of course you have the power ring, you have the SAS controller, science lab, giant fuel tank. That's the thermoelectric generator, which takes heat from the nuclear engine, turns it into power. And then the Kerbal just walks over here. And apparently falls off because for some reason the idiot doesn't know how to grab a ladder. But the ladder comes down to exactly ground level. And you can climb right back up. Right through the containment hatch. And that's how they would normally board the craft. Now you can close the hatch after they get up there, then walk back across it and board the science lab. So I even factored in how do the Kerbals get on and get off. Even the scientists can get on and get off this one. Oh, just one thing. Be careful when you close the hatch that you don't forget to raise the ladder. Because it looks kind of silly hanging out the bottom. Main camera. There we go. And the Phoenix 2.1 will be up on Kerbal X probably in the next 15-30 minutes. Again, thank you all for showing up tonight and for hanging out. Let me see if there's anybody we can raid right now. It looks like Rocket PC Gaming is still streaming Kerbals at this hour, so if you guys want to keep watching Kerbals and you're not going to bed yet like I am, then if you don't mind, just head over to Rocket PC Gaming and just tell them that you're on a Dragon Raid. Tell them that Maelstrom sent you.